Hi everyone, in this video we're actually going to look at the graphic organizer that I have given you in class. So if you have a look, remember we need to evaluate not only our process but our answer, so our solution, and something that's a strength, so what was done well and what was a limitation, what could be improved to improve the accuracy of our solution. So what you're going to look at is, you can see here I have a copy of your sheet that I've given everyone in class. Now, you can see that down this column there's aspect, so something that you need to consider. And in this column it's got like, what did you do that makes the best aspect? So best design, best reasonableness of calculations, and the best link to observations and assumptions. Now, why did this help? So explain what you did, or why this bit here was helpful, and what is your evidence? Because remember, we are trying to go for attempting at the best mark that we can, and by doing that we need to provide a statement, the explanation of why that's important, and the evidence to support that. Okay, so if we have a look here, your design, we might think of the design as the best because you have considered the briefing, and that was briefing requirements. I'm just going to put it as a shorthand. You have a composite shape. I'm going to leave that there. So consider the briefing required. And why did this help? Because it gives you an accurate solution. Ooh, there's too many U's there. I'm just getting a bit excited. Alright, accurate solution. It's reflective of like real life. Yep. And what is the evidence for this? So I have included a composite shape. My garden beds are different sizes. And the other thing is also the water tank, because you actually need something to irrigate your garden with. So there's one aspect of it that I've considered. So remember, to evaluate something is to find the value of it and looking at its qualities, and so strengths and limitations, or strengths, pros and cons, and put a value on it. So is it good or not? Reasonableness, so you would do that with your calculations, and links to assumptions. So as I explained to many people, if your land wasn't flat, so because for many of you, your assumptions might be that the land is flat. And here is my garden bed, and there's the volume of the soil based on the height of the garden bed. Now, that might be a particular value, and if I changed the slope of my ground, kept my garden bed height the same, I now have a different shape, don't I? Which means that I would have a different volume. So, oops. So the volume differs between these two. Now that would be something to link back to your observations and assumptions. Like, if your assumption is the ground's flat, this helps with the calculations, because if you don't have that, you would have more complex calculations and more errors. Where's the evidence? Your volume or your height is blah blah blah. So you can see what I'm doing there. A limitation, now that's something that's going to stop your solution from being truly real life, or something that you could have improved on, or you weren't very happy with how you did it. So that's the solution, not the process. So something that you would have liked to have. So you might have preferred to have pathways that were 2 meters wide or less than 1 meter wide. And then you would explain why, if that would happen, if that were improved, and what was the reason for that improvement. So if you have a look down here, there are some sentence starters. So the design is the best as, if you have a look here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 different steps, or 4 aspects. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Each sentence has the aspect that you are considering, and why is it the best? So your reason, this is because, or it's improving it would mean. So why is it the best? Why is it important? And what is the evidence? So if you have a look here, let's do that for all of these. The garden is the best design as, because The calculations are reasonable because observations and assumptions were these, and they're important because a limitation was, if you have a look, sorry, I'll continue with that colour, and look at that. What makes this the best? Then you have a look at the next column. This is pink. Oh, pink doesn't like working on that grey. There you go. And then this is because. Now, as I told you, we're not here to win amazing awards for creative and flowy, beautiful writing. We're factual, to the point, and being concise. Improving it would mean, so why is this helpful? What would happen if it was improved? I'm just restating this as statements as opposed to answering the question. And then the blue one, what is the evidence? What is the evidence? For example, this is important because what is the reason? Now, if we have a look down here in our ISMG, so the Instrument Specific Marking Guide for the Evaluate and Verify section. Now, it's saying here to get an A, we're looking for justification and explanation. So, justification and explanation of the procedures used when making using mathematical reasoning. So, can you see where these bits are coming from now and what we're trying to look for? Evaluation of reasonableness of solution. So again, you would use evaluation of the reasonableness of solution and considering results, assumptions, or observations. So you're like linking it to those things. And then an evaluation of relevant strengths and limitations. Solution or model. Evaluation of relevant. So when we say relevant, for things that are actually relevant, like saying that you didn't use your calculator correctly isn't like really relevant. That is something that you should be doing as good practice. So strengths and limitations of the solution. So, and if you have a look down here, an explanation of the procedure and decisions made. So there's the procedures, decisions made. And if you're going to explain them, and then if you have a look here, these are just saying statements about the reasonableness, statements about lengths and limitations. So, and then just a procedure or a decision. So if you only give just one of these, you would end up here. If you try to go for this and it's maybe not so clear, you would end up in this category, the 2 to 3. If you're aiming for this and you make sure, even though it doesn't have justification there, make sure that you are including evidence in this section. So all of these, for example, this is important because you, and then that way you're going for the 5. If you maybe do a couple and attempt that, you might get the 4 instead. So that is what we're looking for in your evaluation and verification, or evaluating and verifying. Verifying just means like, is your answer reasonable and how do you know? Okay, so that's how we can check. And you've got to give a mathematical reason for how you're doing that with evidence. All right, I hope that helps. So you would take this, fill it in. Once it's all filled in, then you can start writing your sentences. And then if you really want, you can get fast and loose and write them straight into your draft template, so your task sheet template, or write them in your book first, fix them up, edit the spelling errors and things like that, and then write them into your draft. Okay, I hope that helps. Stay awesome, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye.